Welcome to this demo component of the course where we're going to be exploring how to use environment variables with Docker. Now I'm going to explain how they can be used step by step, but before we do that there is a setup step that I need you to run. And in a catch-22 way, this setup step is going to be using environment variables itself. So attached to this video is instructions for the environment variables component of the course, and the first command in that video is this command, and I just want you to go ahead and run it, and I'm going to explain all of the components of this command as we explore environment variables together. For now though, just go ahead and run this command. You'll probably see that it can't find the image phpMyAdmin locally, and so it's going to go ahead and download this Docker image and then spin up a container. And then we can go ahead and clear the screen. We don't need to do anything else with that particular container. We are going to be using it very shortly to interact with the other container we'll be using in this component of the course. Now, to illustrate how environment variables work, we're going to be exploring how they can be used with a database container, specifically the MariaDB database engine. Now, to do that, the first thing that we're going to do is run this command. Again, these are all contained in the instructions attached to this video. Now this command is going to download a specific version of the MariaDB Docker image. So go ahead and run that command, and it will take a few moments to complete. There's a number of file system layers, but when that command completes, you'll have a local copy of the MariaDB Docker image. And I'm going to clear the screen and run this command, which is going to inspect this Docker image and allow us to explore the metadata. So press enter. You'll notice this env section, and this env section contains a number of variables. So these are environment variables. Specifically, we have path, MariaDB_major, and MariaDB_version. So when we run a container from this image, there's going to be a variable in the container, in this example called path, which will have this as a value. And in this particular example, this is the variable that's used whenever you run a command to locate the command to execute, and it will try all of these different folders in order. What we're going to do as we run a container from this image is specify a number of other environment variables, and these are important because they'll be used to configure the MariaDB database engine. So I'll clear the screen to make it easy to see. Now, environment variables are key value pairs. You specify the name of the variable and a value. Now, convention when using the Docker command is that environment variable names are specified in all caps, and then you have the value. So take this command for example. So this is a Docker command. This is docker run and then --name db. So we're spinning up a container with the name db. And then at the end here we can see that we're using the MariaDB Docker image and this specific version. However, in the middle what you'll be able to see is that we have a number of these, and these are how we can specify environment variables. We specify -e and then the environment variable name, in this case MySQL_root_password, and then an equals and then the value for that environment variable. And these are passed into the container when it's run. So in this example we're specifying 4 different environment variables. The first is MySQL_root_password, which specifies the root password for this database engine. Another that gets specified is MySQL_database. Now this is special for this specific container image because when we specify this environment variable with this particular container image, then as the container image is used to spin up a container, an additional database will be created, in this case WordPress, and this is all configured as part of running up a container. We're also specifying MySQL_user, and again this is specific to this container image, and this creates a new MariaDB user called WordPress. And then lastly we have MySQL_password, which sets the password for this user. Now obviously using WordPress for everything here is not secure, but this is just a demonstration, so it's fine. Lastly we have this, which is -- and then default authentication plugin equals equals MySQL underscore native underscore password. And this is just a way of specifying an additional argument to the Docker container, so additional configuration information. Now at this point, let's just go ahead and run this command. And this is going to run a container specifying all of these environment variables. And if we go ahead and run a docker space ps space -a and press enter, we'll be able to see that we have this running container. So this container ID, it's using the MariaDB image, this specific version of it, and it's got the name of DB. Now the ports that this exposes is 3306, and that's the standard MariaDB database port. Now I want you to go ahead and copy down this container ID and note it down somewhere safe, and just note it down as the MariaDB ID. And then I want you to run this command, so docker space inspect and then this container ID and press enter. And this is going to retrieve all of the metadata for this particular container. Now the reason we're doing this is because I want you to note down this particular item of information. So this is the internal IP address that the MariaDB container is using. So in my case 172.17.03. So this is the IP address which will be used to access the MariaDB database server. Now if you remember at the start of this component of the course, we actually launched another container, the phpMyAdmin container. So this is an application that can be used to manage database instances. So I want you to go ahead and open a web browser. And then in the address bar at the top, I want you to open http://localhost:8081 and then press enter. Now this is going to take you to the phpMyAdmin screen, and this is where you can log in. Now this is being loaded from the container that we just ran at the start of this part of the course. This is just running a standard installation of phpMyAdmin. It's nothing special, but we're going to use it to connect to the MariaDB container that we've just launched together. So in the server box, I want you to go ahead and type in the IP address that you just copied into your clipboard, so the internal IP address of the MariaDB container. And then we need to log in, and we're going to use the username of root, and then we're going to use the password of some WordPress. Remember, we specified these pieces of configuration using environment variables when we ran the container. And for MySQL underscore root underscore password, we set that to some WordPress. And so that's what we're going to use. So go back to phpMyAdmin and type some WordPress and then click on login. And that will log you into phpMyAdmin. And specifically what I want you to do is to click on user accounts and verify that you can see the WordPress user. Remember, this was the user created via one of those environment variables that we specified when running the container. Additionally, on the left here, make sure you can see WordPress, because this is the database that was created via being specified as an environment variable. Now moving back to our terminal, and I'll just clear the screen to make it easier to see, I'm going to go ahead and run this command, which is going to allow us to go into the container via a bash shell. So enter that command and press enter. And this is going to place you at the terminal of the container. And if we run a df space -k and press enter, this is going to list all of the drives and volumes that are mounted within this container. And notice how there are no externally mapped drives or mounts. All the storage that this container uses is within the container. And this means the storage is linked to the lifecycle of the container. If the container is deleted, then so is the storage. Now, why this is important, if we use this command and go into this folder, and then do an ls space -la, these are the MariaDB database files. These are the files which actually store the data of the MariaDB database engine. And all of this is stored within the container. It means that if we delete the container, then all of the data within this container is also deleted. And that's a limitation that we're going to fix in the next demo component of the course, where we're going to look at configuring separate storage for our container using named volumes and bind mounts. For now, you need to understand the limitation in that anything inside this container is ephemeral. If we delete the container, the storage within it won't persist past the lifetime of that container, and that presents some unique challenges when you're attempting to containerize applications which have database servers. At this point though, we can go ahead and exit this container and clear the screen, and now we'll just clear up all of the infrastructure we've used in this demo component of the course. To do that, we're going to use a docker space stop space db, and this will stop the database container, and then a docker space rm space db to delete the database container, and we can also go ahead and run a docker space stop space php myadmin, and that will stop the php myadmin container. And then likewise, we need to go ahead and remove that container. So docker space rm space and then php myadmin, and press enter. And that means your Docker host is in the same state as it was at the start of this demo component of the course. Now remember, the limitation that we've highlighted is that any storage for the container is currently stored within the container, and it's linked to the lifecycle of that container. And that's something that we're going to resolve in the next demo component of the course. At this point though, go ahead, and when you're ready, you can move on.